Now, boys and girls, you might have heard that Gothix Therapy was on Stuttering Craig's Side Scrollers podcast the other day, and they were talking about all of the craziness going on with Sweet Baby Inc. and all of the stuff going on in gaming, and specifically the politics involved in gaming, specifically when it comes to black girl gamers, who Gothic was actually a former member of, but when she decided to not kneel down to all of the woke ideology, she decided to not kneel before the cult, and did not decide to put a kind of pedestal, her skin color up on some kind of pedestal, and to decide to not completely and totally out and right hate white people. She, of course, was exonerated. She was, or not exonerated, she was excommunicated from black girl gamers completely and totally. And I use excommunicated very specifically because the new cult stuff out there, all of this ideology and all of this agenda, this DIE nonsense being pushed into absolutely every aspect of our culture, our life, our government, and our religion, is one of them situations where it's absolutely a cult. It is a new religion trying to replace the old religion, the old ideology, and the old morality of Western civilization, which, of course, is based on Judeo-Christian values, whether you like it or not. That is the absolute fact of things. And it has given you all of the beautiful, wonderful aspects of your life, such as this wonderful platform that you're currently watching right now. The morality and the safety that came with a general acceptance of the culture's basic morality is what gave us the ability to flourish and have the freedom we have to create all of these wonderful things that give you the ability to Netflix and chill, that get you your Uber Eats, that get you your favors, that get you your YouTube. All of that kind of things could not exist without the standard operating procedure of a morality that the culture had accepted. Well, that is no longer good enough for a lot of the ideologues out there, and they have gone out of their way to try to devastate, destroy anyone who disagrees with them. Fortunately enough, the Main Street average American out there, the common nerd, the common average person out there in Western civilization, has decided to reject this ideology, has decided to reject this religion, and is now pushing back against it and completely ignoring it at the worst thing that they're doing, and basically making it to where these things are dying because they have no money left to support them because people have checked out. Well, boys and girls, one of the reasons why we always talk about supporting alternative platforms, why it's always so important to be absolutely everywhere, including Rumble, Kick, Odyssey, X, and anywhere else you can possibly stream to or put your content on. This is another prime example of why, because you never know when the rules might change out of nowhere and they decide to shut you down just because you decided to discuss something that the mainstream did not like it, and YouTube is one of the ones most guilty for it. So as you can see right here, Geeks and Gamers Side Scrollers stopped on YouTube while talking politics in gaming, but fortunately enough, they were streaming to Rumble as well, and it carried right on. Shout out to Rumble. Make sure you support all your favorite creators on all of their alternative platforms. Even if it's just a follow, it goes a very long way. So Side Scrollers stopped on YouTube while talking politics and gaming. It's not paranoia if they're really out to get you. Shout out to Alex Gurzo for writing this article. Today on Side Scrollers, the video gaming podcast hosted by Stuttering Craig and the Blabbering Collector, Craig and Blabs were joined by guest BX and Gothix to discuss some disturbing current events. BX is an independent investigator who was on to talk about the government infiltrating the gaming community, which you can read about here, which we've done a video over here about. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. While Gothix is the former Black Girl Gamers employee who, during the company's recent fight with That Park Place, said she was fired from and harassed by the consulting firm for her political beliefs. During the stream, however, Side Scrollers was suddenly stopped on YouTube. This didn't happen anywhere else. Not Rumble, not Kick, not Streamlabs, just YouTube. That suggests that it wasn't human error, but YouTube stopping people from seeing what everyone on Side Scrollers had to say. God forbid you have a strong black woman come out and push back against the narrative. No, we can't have that because you're not black if you don't vote for Joe Biden. Isn't that right, boys and girls? That suggests it wasn't human error. YouTube is notoriously biased in certain socio-political directions. It's owned by Google, remember, and questioning woke video games, consulting firms, and government agencies forcing themselves into the private sector probably doesn't sit well with them. It doesn't help that Google has a crap ton of federal contracts that support them a whole lot of money with your tax dollars. You can see the moment that the Side Scrollers live stream stopped here. So here we go, right here.
Was like,
got 2 minutes and 5 seconds.
Brand risk. So is Gothic, obviously.
So let's see where it goes. This is where it shuts down.
Wow. I know. I'm gonna go to Rumble.
Yeah, go to Rumble.
Yep, right there.
That's not how this show is supposed to end. Well, that's terrifying.
Yep. As a guy that personally woke up one morning to have his entire career and his entire monetary system completely and totally nuked out of nowhere with almost next to no warning, and for something that I'd been literally doing for the exact same for 6 months, yeah. YouTube can't be trusted. Find the alternatives. Rumble, Kick, Odyssey, they're all out there. This kind of stuff is going to continue to happen, and especially with this being an election year, it's only going to get worse. Support your favorite creators. Support the creators you hate on alternative platforms. It doesn't matter, because the alternative platforms, YouTube will not change without competition. This stuff will continue to happen time and time again if there is not competition forcing them to change their hand. Look what TikTok did to them. Now we have shorts all over the YouTube, right? And the shorts are a huge thing and all of this other kind of nonsense. Podcasting is the same way. They've got a podcast network on there because they know podcasting is getting huge. YouTube will change if you support the alternatives that give you a better process, that give you a better service than what YouTube is currently providing. As is often the case nowadays, this is one of those things that's shocking for about 3.5 seconds before you remember everything else that's been going on lately. The many attempts to stop people from speaking out about political or cultural rot. What made this episode of the show important enough to stop? Because they were discussing an instance where the two meet and make a situation that's already going very bad for the gaming powers to that be even worse. Does that mean men in suits and sunglasses showed up at YouTube headquarters with threats and briefcases? Probably not. I'd imagine the folks at the Google-owned streaming platform were just being good little doggies and did what their ideology demanded them to do. Good little cultists. Oh, you're such a sweet little possessed of the spirit of the age cultist. Oh, good job. You're such a good acolyte. We're so proud of you. This is what I've been saying for a long time. There's not some grand conspiracy out there with people pulling the strings behind the scenes or whispering into Google's ear. No. All these people, they're NPCs. They were all trained this way when they went to college. They had all of this ideology injected into their head and force-fed into their mind to completely and totally brainwash them. You don't have to have anybody pulling their strings. They're automatons. They're NPCs. You trained them up, you filled them with your programming, and you sent them out in the world, right? There's not some George Soros guy in the background pulling the strings everywhere. He just helps fund things. No. What they're doing here is they trained these people, they loaded them up with the proper programming, and they sent them out into the world to destroy and devastate your entertainment, your culture, and everything else. And that's what they've been doing. That's exactly what they've been doing. Or it was a total accident, which if I type it often enough, might make the flower delivery van that's just been parked across the street all the week go away. They're watching. Trust me, I always used to say, if you weren't on a list during the Obama years, you were probably doing something wrong with your life. And as BX points out in the video, this happened just after Craig pondered how deep this could potentially go, and predicted we would go down the rabbit hole even deeper. If someone put that in a movie, you'd say it was too on the nose. And that's always the thing about that. Absolutely. That is the case, right? That's always the case with this kind of stuff. The conspiracy theories and the reality of real life are crazier than fiction. You couldn't sell this to a Hollywood studio. Not even in the modern era with all the craziness going on. You simply couldn't sell it to a modern studio. It's just not going to happen. It literally, if someone put that in a movie, you'd say it was too on the nose. Now, my early joking aside, this could be a coincidence. That it never happened before doesn't mean it's impossible. And the show where Craig Blabs and two particularly knowledgeable guests were talking about government interference in the video game industry and DIE, subsidizing gaming companies, hiring woke consulting firms to socially engineer video games to the point where Harley Quinn is portrayed as a morally superior to Batman. Thank you for that, Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. How are those sales numbers working out for you? It is just as likely to any other episode to be the one that got accidentally stopped. It's also entirely possible that I own the Brooklyn Bridge and will sell it to you at a savings you won't believe. Exactly. But here's the rub. Well, I'm sorry this happened to Blabs and Craig. It's a good sign that the establishment is going to these lengths to silence people on the subject. It means they're scared. I don't like to procrastinate or prognosticate, especially about something positive, but it really feels like the jig is up in the gaming world. Gamers are too present online. Too many outlets are reporting on this. The ones that aren't haven't been trusted for some time, and the bad guys just don't know how to handle it. Gamers aren't the type to be swayed by a news program using scary words or a very special episode of Law & Order Special Gamer Unit, and it makes me wonder if the gaming community is not so much the exception as the first domino to fall. Will this progressive madness be forced out of other industries and communities once the gamers decisively hold theirs? That would be a kick in the pants to the stuffed shirts who dismissed it for decades. Video games could save Western civilization. And absolutely true. That's right. And obviously you can go watch the full episode on Rumble, Kick, and Spotify pages, all of that kind of stuff too. But it's one of those things. This is what I've been saying for a while, right? Is the pendulum has finally shifted. We are finally winning. The things are going back and away. And I knew the gaming industry was going to be, and I've said this for a while, that I thought the gaming industry would turn around faster than anybody else, because the studios are loaded with all of these billions of dollars backing them from all of these financial and investment firms and all that kind of stuff. And yes, the gaming industry has that too, but it's not to the extent that Hollywood does, right? Most studios are only working on one game at a time, whereas Hollywood studios are working on a bunch of different projects all at once, right? So if one thing fails, it's not a big deal. They can cover it up with this. That's not the way it works in the game industry. Most studios are working on one game for years, sometimes a decade. And if that one game fails, you don't have any money for the next one, right? We saw that happen with the reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it, the reimagining of the Saints Row series, right? That one studio got taken over by the acolytes of the cult, listened to Sweet Baby Inc., went around with all of their nonsense, and what happened to them? That one game and that entire studio is gone now. All those people are fired. They're all out of jobs. It's all over. That's why I always thought that the gaming industry shift would happen so much faster once the woke stuff started to get too exposed. And that's exactly what we see happening. This is spot on. This is what's doing it. All of the fans out there, all of the gamers out there, all of the common nerds out there are out there pushing back against this nonsense, driving it back and rejecting it. And these studios are failing. And guess what? They don't have the cushion. They don't have the backing that Hollywood does. And you will see them fail faster and faster. And you know what? That's fine. Because there are so many independent gaming companies out there that are doing so many great things. Pal World, Helldivers. I mean, there's just so many other small, triple, single A, double A games that everybody's been having such a blast with that you don't have to worry about these triple A studios anymore. Pal World literally set the world on fire. Now it's Helldivers setting the world on fire. Who knows where it'll be next? It was Hogwarts Legacy for a while. I mean, you just never know. I mean, it was... Party Animals is still a big thing. You know what I mean? That's not some fancy big AAA game. It's just a blast party game that you can hang around with your friends and have that fun. So gamers, don't you out there be worried about what's going to happen for the future of gaming. You are on the winning side of this, and we are winning. And the fact that YouTube felt that this conversation was so on the nose and so spot on that they had to silence it just shows you how absolutely terrified and scared they are, not only of people like this talking about this, but each and every one of you out there making the decision to ignore the cult and go on with common sense. And that, boys and girls, is how we will win. And this right here is just another sign of that. And also another major reason to support all of your alternative platforms.